What's really good, my people? Welcome into No Catch Up Sports Talk via Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Little. Big Nick the Quick with me as always. We're back. NFL's back, so we're back. Summer's over. I hope you enjoyed your Labor Day because it's time to get back to work. Me and Big Nick the Quick, we know NFL Week 1 starts Thursday. Lions at Chiefs down in Kansas City. We're going to talk about our favorite storylines coming into the year. We're going to talk about some sleeper storylines coming this year. What's not being talked about enough? We'll break that down. We'll also talk about some gambling stuff, who we like, make a little bit of money for everybody listening. Then, of course, the biggest story of the weekend, in my opinion, Deion Sanders. We coming, Colorado Buffs get the W down at TCU. He's talking his shit. We're going to break down what it means, what's going on down in Colorado, how important it is, how much fun it is. And then, of course, we got a little game. We're going to say, what are you doing? What's happening right now? We're going to talk about a couple topics that just seem backwards. We'll break it all down. No catch up. Sports Talk via Chicago. We back.
Now look at Mossy. Really? Oh, so that's how you're going to play it. You going to do this? Okay, fine. That's all I needed. That's all I needed for him to do that. And it became personal with me.
Big Nick the Quick, what's going on?
How we feeling?
I saw your message. I'm going to get it sorted. What's going on? What's the business?
Man, we're back. We're back. It's been a while. We dropped we did drop the Cubs Sox video just as something to kind of keep everybody with some content while we were gone. But this is kind of the dead time for us the last month or so, right? Basketball's over. You're in the depths of training camp. You know what I mean? We're not necessarily insider guys, so we're not going to come on here and break down camp battles for you and let you know who fought who. So, obviously we need a little bit of time to breathe, man. But it's great to be back, man. Had an awesome Labor Day weekend. Went downtown, checked out the AVP beach volleyball tournament. Yo, if you ever get a chance to, I don't know if you've been before, but anybody listen, if you ever get a chance to, Labor Day weekend, they do it at Oak Street Beach, 3-day event, best beach volleyball players in the country, sick tournament, vibes are crazy, everybody's down there. It was awesome. Wait, but I got to tell you, I got a question for you. So obviously, we're in the midst of the Premier League season right now. So a lot of people are rocking their jerseys, showing their team pride for a lot of different soccer clubs around the world. What jersey do you think I saw the most of in the city?
Chelsea.
Nope. Not necessarily a Premier League team.
The Arsenal, the best club in the world.
One Arsenal jersey.
Who then?
PSG. Without a doubt. I saw more PSG. I was kind of surprised. I saw more PSG than anybody else. Second would have been like Liverpool, but I thought it was kind of crazy.
Who cares?
It stuck out to me. I didn't realize there were that many PSG fans out there in the world. But overall, man, it was dope. It was hot as shit. But like I said, if you ever get a chance to, definitely check it out, man. Yeah. Live sports always.
It's a fun event. It's a fun event down there. I went a couple years back. I told you it would be solid. It's a good event for sure.
Yeah.
Let's jump into it, man. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to catch up on. NFL Week 1 is Thursday. Detroit's at Kansas City, the defending champions. Pat Mahomes only goes to title games or the Super Bowl since he's come into the league. He is that man. Nick thinks I don't like Pat Mahomes.
Yeah, he doesn't mean that. That's a bit tongue-in-cheek.
Which is hilarious, but that's a whole nother story. But we want to jump into it. Like Nick said, man, I watch tons and tons of tape just for betting purposes and going through stuff and breaking down stuff before I hop on shows, but I'm not going to come on here and give you a bunch of analytics. That's not our vibe. We just want to have conversations about the biggest points coming into the year. In NFL Week 1, I figured what would be better than to talk about our favorite storylines coming into the year and then talk about a sleeper storyline that's just not getting enough attention. Big Nick the Quick, man. Give me your favorite storyline. NFL 2023 season starts Thursday. What are you looking at?
Lamar Jackson. I think that, last year, obviously the last couple of years, really tons of noise around that situation. Is he going to get a deal? Is he not going to get a deal? A lot of noise around training camp last year. He's given interviews with boxes of fried chicken. He's clearly checked out. Every single week, the story is Lamar, kind of like the Aaron Rodgers news cycle right now, right? Like everything was Lamar leading into the last couple of years. So I think that now that that's been cleared up, he got his deal, Got a new offensive coordinator in Todd Monken from Georgia. So hopefully going to try to switch some things up. I think the last dude, look, everybody's acting like the last guy was awful, but Lamar did win an MVP under my man. But we've talked about it here before. That offense was very vanilla at times. It seems like they almost didn't trust Lamar to do a lot, right? Like they were really trying to keep everything simple for him, and he executed. But obviously, if you want to win Super Bowls, you got to take it to the next level. So I'm excited to see what they do with that. They got him some new weapons. I think people are a little bit irrational on OBJ. This is the NFL. If we haven't seen you do anything in 2 years, you're kind of out of the loop for me, especially at that position. But we'll see. But also they added the rookie. What's the guy's name they're really excited about? Zay Flowers.
Zay Flowers, yeah.
Zay Flowers is supposed to be nice. Obviously, Mark Andrews
another
back.
weapon, wide receiver. Yeah, Zay is supposed to be super solid.
And it's the Baltimore Ravens. You know they're going to play solid defense. Harbaugh's a good coach, but I really just think that and in that division, which I'd like to talk about, I mean, I think that division is wide open. Tons of different interesting storylines there. But yeah, mine is Lamar Jackson, man. I feel like this is going to be a huge year for Lamar. I think when we talked about our Super Bowl picks, or we talked about in a group chat, the Ravens are my sleeper. Right, if it's not the Chiefs for me, it's the Ravens. I'm feeling very, very, very strong on the Ravens right now on Lamar Jackson.
45-16 as the starter is Lamar Jackson when he plays. So when he plays, he wins. He played 12 games the last 2 years. They went 7-5 and then 8-4. They went 8-4 last year, and Lamar Jackson wasn't even interested in being there.
Didn't want to be there at all.
Like, let's be clear. So when he's out there, he wins. But like you said, I mean, the storyline, you kind of went into the additions and the new weapons. Mark Andrews is awesome. I think for me, this is tough to say. You're gonna think I'm hating on Pat Mahomes again. Yeah, I think Mark Andrews is the best tight end in the NFL.
That's false. I understand where you're going, but that's just not true.
Because from the amount of attention he gets, you know what my thing is on just
he's really good though. He's really
filthy. I think when it comes down to just overall talent and ability, even on the run game, he's a better blocker than Travis Kelce. There's nothing that Travis Kelce does better to me than Mark Andrews. Now, Andy Reid puts Travis Kelce in a lot better positions
yards after the catch. From the tight end position.
Yeah, we know about Travis Kelce, and every time I've never seen a guy catch the ball in more space than Travis Kelce.
He's always open. Yeah.
Hey, and maybe the history of the NFL.
He's always open. He's like the Grant Williams of football. Somehow he's always open. Somehow he's always open, and no one wants to guard him. You are
the difference between Grant Williams. The difference between Grant Williams being open a little all the time does have to do something to do with him not being a knockdown shooter like that. Travis Kelce makes a massive impact, but
always open.
I put it like this. I think this is the best way to put it. If you put Mark Andrews and you swap him for Travis Kelce, he puts up the same numbers, does the same type of things, and we talk about Mark Andrews just like we talk about Travis Kelce, in my opinion.
I wouldn't go that far, but I think Mark Andrews is an awesome tight end and absolutely in that top two.
What's different? I think you know
what it is, man. You see Kelce make more spectacular plays, and I don't know how much of that is a function of the offense, a function of Patrick Mahomes, whatever you want to say. But I feel like Andrews is more of like the steady. I'm just eating up yards. It's kind of like a home run hitting running back versus the guy who's
it's Emmitt Smith versus Barry Sanders.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Some of it looks better when you're watching it, and it doesn't necessarily mean that Barry was better than Emmitt, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Don't get me started, Emmitt Smith. But stuck around a little bit too long and broke records. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Travis Kelce isn't hands down the best tight end in the NFL, in my opinion. But I get where you're at. You're not. It's not outlandish. It's not crazy to say what you're saying.
No, of course
you look
it's
at
not.
2021. Mark Andrews had 107 receptions, 1,400 yards, and 9 touchdowns from the tight end position.
With literally every snap, them look in his direction.
And there's no one else that they're trying to get the ball to over there. So yeah, you're right. He gets a lot of attention. I think he's awesome. He's perfect for Lamar. And again, that's a team for me that I really think is going to make some noise this year. Yeah. Like we can't discount how much of an impact outside noise and all that other shit has on your ability to win football games and prepare every week and then go out there and execute on Sunday, right? Like we can't give credit to the teams and the organizations that do a good job of keeping that shit out and focusing on everything and then not talk about the impact it has when that's not the case. And that 100% hasn't been the case for the Baltimore Ravens. He felt disrespected. They felt how they felt. He couldn't even get a deal from anybody else in the league. Like, this was 6 months ago that we were talking about this, right? But the fact that they got that deal done way before camp, right, had a clear summer. He goes into camp. You gear in the program towards him now, right? There's no more of that tension or anything like that. And this is a guy who was a league MVP 3 years ago and still one of the most dynamic players, if not the most dynamic player in the NFL when you talk about the two-way ability as far as running and passing. So I think that, and the Ravens are another one of those teams, man. They're just kind of always there.
Yeah, Bateman's going to be coming back as well. He's another weapon. He was their rookie out of Minnesota last year.
He's always coming back.
Yeah, but he's another weapon. If they can get him healthy as well, that'll be an impactful guy.
We need to have a always coming back all-stars. You remember Sean Lee used to play on the Cowboys?
Yeah, always coming back.
Always coming back. And Sean Lee will be back.
He was nice though.
Yeah, it was nice, but he was always coming back. He's always hurt.
The Kawhi Leonard. The Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard All-Stars. He's coming back.
All-Star team coming back.
Coming back, man. That guy's coming back. I can't wait till he get Mekhi Becton. He's coming back.
Wait, repeat that for me. What's the most important? You can't understate how important it is to off.
You can't talk about how important it is, how great it is the organizations that do a great job of keeping the noise out, but then understate how much of an impact it has when the noise is entering your building like that, right? So, like, we can't celebrate the fact, this organization, they locked down, they hunkered down like the Patriots. Nothing gets in through that building and they just execute. But when it does get through the building and when you do start having those problems, we can't sit up here and act like that doesn't have an impact on how you play. And that's been the case with the Baltimore Ravens the last 2 years. That noise is gone.
Funny you say that because that's a perfect segue into my favorite storyline. Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. You know what I'm saying, Big Nick? Because you just told me you can't understate that, right?
Easiest one. That's Sean's playing T-ball.
No, you said you can't understate that, right?
For sure, man. Noise, especially when you create it yourself.
So what was Aaron Rodgers dealing with all last year in Green Bay? You know, he had one of the worst years of his career, but it was a lot of noise coming out of there, wasn't it?
Yeah, a lot of it was from himself.
another place Aaron Rodgers didn't want to be. So my favorite storyline coming into the year, and it is a little bit of a layup, but it is the New York Jets. I'm looking forward to seeing how big of an impact this guy coming to a team that is solidified on the defensive end, what he can do. Let's talk about, before we get to Aaron, you know how I feel about Aaron Rodgers. Let's talk about the defense for real. Opponent points per game, 18.6. That was number 2 in the NFL last year. Opposing yards per game, 311.1. That's number 4 in the NFL last year. Opponent points per play, 0.289. That's number 2 in the NFL this year. And if you're looking at analytics and you're a big, you like to look at the numbers, which I do, that back up some of my feelings. Points per play or per snap is something that you want to look at. For example, there's wide receiver yards off the line for every play that he's a part of. How much is he? When is he getting the ball? How often is he getting upfield? Is he getting yak? Is he making plays? It's that per play type of piece. Opponent yards per play, 4.8. That's number 2 in the NFL for the Jets last year on defense. Opposing red zone scoring percentage. So when we get down inside the 20, are we giving up touchdowns? They are not. 47.83. That's number 3 in the NFL. And then opposing touchdowns a game, 1.8. That's number 1 in the NFL. That is the New York Jets defense from last year. They don't lose anybody for the most part. They add veteran Al Woods to shore up some interior space. Adrian Amos, if you're an OG no catch-up listener, or you know about the Chicago Bears, you know Adrian Amos is a monster. He's coming from Green Bay. They added him. He'll help Jordan Whitehead a ton roam and do his thing. If you remember the impact Adrian Amos had on Eddie Jackson for the Bears, you know how important Amos can be. So I'm excited to see him with the Jets. And let's talk about Sauce Gardner for real for a little bit here, Big Nick, to quit. Sauce Gardner is the best corner in the NFL. Sauce Gardner is going to be a Hall of Famer.
Oh, my God.
Period, point blank, that's it.
He's the best corner in the NFL.
Sauce Gardner is the best corner in the National Football League, period. He is an absolute lockdown, shut one side of the field
He's
off
better than
guy.
Jalen Ramsey?
You said don't get me started on Emmitt Smith. You want to talk about a guy that you don't want to get me started
Consistently
on.
cooked.
I have never seen
we talk about this all the time.
A guy protected by all the players in the This is where it gets kind of sticky, Nick, because this guy is talked about from like NFL guys that are in the league,
like
right?
He's the one.
Who the fuck are we to say that, they're wrong, right? So it does get sticky there. But when I watch Jalen Ramsey, I do see a guy that impacts the game, but he makes a lot of mistakes
Boomer bust.
And gets cooked quite a bit, especially the last few years. So
DK put him in a blender. Yeah, I mean, ridiculous.
No,
and if you're that good of a shot, and here's the other thing, dude. Like, look, what are the premium positions in the NFL? If you're that good, you're not on a new team every year, too.
Yes,
this is his third team and
he's getting paid an absorbent amount of money as well. So that's typically why guys coming down the end of their career get moved around a lot. But he's probably the most overrated corner the last 2 years in the NFL.
Yes.
So yes, Sauce Gardner for me is the best corner in the NFL. Will be a Hall of Famer. We'll remembered as one of the best corners the league has ever seen. This is not hyperbole for me. I think Sauce Gardner is that good. Then, of course, let's talk about Aaron Rodgers. Now, Garrett Wilson's going to go crazy. I had to go back and look at – we talk about Jordy Nelson and the impact Aaron Rodgers had on him pretty frequently, right? So I was digging in. I was looking at Jordy Nelson. Let's talk about some of these numbers for Jordy Nelson. He had 15 touchdowns in 2011, which is hilarious. Listen to this, from 2011 to 2017, those are like his prime years with the Green Bay Packers. 96 receptions, 73 receptions, 127 receptions, 150. He went 151, 152. He missed a year in the middle of that injury, but he went 151 catches, 152 catches. Then he went 88 catches. Listen to the touchdowns. 15, 7, 8, 13, and 14. Yeah. Jordy Nelson leaves the Green Bay Packers in 2017 and is out of the league in 2019. He leaves Aaron Rodgers in the Green Bay Packers and he plays one more season in the NFL and he disappears. Aaron Rodgers makes that big of an impact on guys. Now, talent-wise, when it comes to Garrett Wilson and the shit that he can do, and he's battling with Sauce Gardner. We saw the hard knocks and everything that's going on over there. Overall, my favorite storyline of the year is adding a guy, one of the best quarterbacks of all time, the best for me, to a defense that I just went through is absolutely lights out and is going to get better. Quentin Williams gets a new deal. He's only getting better. And the interior, Solo Thomas. They got a bunch of Solomon Thomas. They got a bunch of guys that are just studs. So whatever. I think that's my favorite storyline coming in. On defense, it's going to be top tier. Then you add Aaron Rodgers. That's my favorite storyline coming into the year.
I don't mind it. I have no problem with it. Obviously, I like to talk a lot of shit about Rodgers just because I think as an individual, he leaves much to be desired. But yeah, as a quarterback, I don't need to sit up here and tell you how I feel about him as a player. I think that's obviously going from Zach Wilson and Mike White and whoever else was starting games for them last year to Aaron Rodgers is calling it an upgrade is an understatement. I do think there's a lot of hype around that team, and depending on how they handle it, we'll see. Obviously, this year Hard Knocks has essentially been a 4-hour stroke fest for the New York Jets. 4-hour promo video of the New York Jets. I will say this: I don't think their head coach has looked at a playbook since he's been in San Francisco, so we'll see how that goes. He's very, very much a rah-rah guy. Very much comes in, tells you some stories about Vikings in the 1600s and different things like that. A lot of big stories and all that. And we got to fight and claw. He's like Pacino in Any Given Sunday. On this team, we fight for that inch. He's one of those type guys.
The TED Talk thing was pretty funny.
He's a TED Talk. Yeah, he comes out and gives TED Talks. But either way, yeah, man, obviously that defense was great last year. You're adding in Aaron Rodgers. You got to go through the gauntlet that is the AFC, but I think, their division is very winnable. I think that Buffalo, when you look at that division, if you want to look at a team that I think could regress, it's the Buffalo Bills. We talk about these windows in the NFL, and another guy, it's like, hey, Von Miller's coming back. Look, Von Miller won a Super Bowl with fucking Peyton Manning 10 years ago. Like, this is the NFL that we're talking about here. Talking about a guy coming off of ACL.
He was awesome before he went down, though,
to
Buffalo.
But he's on the wrong side of 30, and he's coming off a knee injury. Like, Father Time is
he's an edge rusher.
Yeah, and he's an edge rusher, right? So you're banking on a lot of different things for that team. And again, like, those windows kind of get closed pretty quickly. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see them take a step back. So I think it's a very winnable division for them. And then, obviously then you got to get through the rest of the AFC. But yeah, I'm not down on the New York Jets at all. I think that's a safe pick. Obviously you were going to go there.
I said favorite. It's just my favorite.
Clearly Sean's been watching Get Up, First Take, and every other show where half of the content is on the New York Jets.
No, it's and I'm living in New York. I'm going to definitely get to a game. So I'm looking forward to
Have you ordered your jersey yet? How many pieces of Jets memorabilia do you currently own right now? I want to know.
You see any Jets on the board?
Yeah, but let's look. Come on, man. Have you gone down Fifth Avenue, get yourself a little get yourself a Jets jersey? Where do they shop? I don't know. I don't know anything about New York.
Fanatics.
Wherever you go, Fanatics.
Nah, man, I don't have no Jet stuff, man. I'm not going that far, but
yeah, you will. You had a Rodgers jersey. You had a Packers Rodgers jersey. For those that don't know,
Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback I've ever seen. It's just like that's the facts. It's the facts. You know what I'm saying?
No, I like it, man. I'm with it. I like it, man. I'm excited about it. Look, it's fine. And as great as a Bears fan, it's great to get that man out the division. So I'm fine with it. So it's a good pick. Solid, man. We'll see what happens there. They do have some questions, though. It's not all peachy out there. Offensive line is some questions. Some of those defensive stats, yeah, I know a lot of games they did play close, but they were also getting killed in some games. So teams are kind of running the ball on them later on. That might kill some of your yards per play type situations because you're not really worried about
teams.
Team.
Yeah, teams didn't need to be aggressive against.
Yeah, you're not worried about this team coming back on offense and scoring on you, so you can play a much more conservative approach to offense just to kind of win the game, right? So I think that would be the only stat would be like that yards per play. When you said that, I'm like, yeah, but are we running in the fourth quarter a lot on this team and just kind of wasting out clock? But everything else, defense is absolutely legit. Sauce Gardner's legit. Garrett Wilson's legit, and he was legit with trash throwing the ball to him at quarterback. So yeah, I'm with it. Let's do it.
Talk to me about your sleeper coming into the 2022 season.
Staying in the AFC North, I think a story that's not getting enough attention to maybe because people don't want to talk about it. You kind of can't talk about it, I guess, is Deshaun Watson. I think prior to everything happening and everything that was his fault happening, Deshaun Watson was a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. If you look at Deshaun Watson's last year in Houston, remember, this is the year after they traded DeAndre Hopkins. The Texans were terrible. They were 4-12, but Deshaun Watson threw for 4,800 yards, completed 70% of his passes, and threw for 33 touchdowns, right? If you look at the prior 2 years, 60 touchdowns before he got suspended. Deshaun Watson was absolutely one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. We talk about noise like I talked about with the Baltimore Ravens. There is no more noisier situation in the NFL than the Deshaun Watson situation. You're talking about during the suspension, even going into camp last year, even going into his first preseason game last year. He had people protesting. You had all types of different things going on over there. And he hadn't played in a year and a half, right? I think now he's at a quiet camp. There's no noise coming out of there. He's settled into his situation there, got to know his teammates. This was a solid team. They won 7 ball games last year in the midst of all that. They did have a pretty decent defense a couple years ago. You do have Defensive Player of the Year in Myles Garrett. You do have Nick Chubb, who ran for 1,500 yards and 12 touchdowns last year. Receiving core leaves a little bit to be desired, but you brought in Elijah Moore. He could be a decent player, right? I just think that not enough is being paid attention to the fact that you potentially have a guy who was one of the best young quarterbacks in the league rounding back into form on a team that's overall not that bad in a really interesting and winnable division. If you kind of look at that division, all 4 of those teams could win it. Obviously, the Bengals are going to be the favorites, but you could see any one of those teams potentially winning that division. I don't see why Cleveland couldn't take a major leap this year if Deshaun Watson gets back to 90 to 95% of the player that he was before the suspension. I just don't. I feel like we're just kind of putting that to the side. Like, this guy wasn't awesome. He's not old either. He's 28 years old, right? He's still under 30. He's not coming off an injury or anything like that. It's just more that mental thing. So I'm high on them. I'm high on the Browns. I forgot what their win total was, but I know I love the over on it, and I'm pretty high on them.
I'm on the same exact thing. The Cleveland Browns are being slept on.
100%.
Let's talk about. First of all, I believe Kevin Stefanski. I'm a big Kevin Stefanski fan. I believe he knows what he's doing. I believe he plays to the strength of his teams. You
saw it with Baker. Remember the Baker offense that he had? Yep. You're not doing anything.
Chubb gets him the rock as much as possible.
Yep.
Obviously, the question here is Deshaun Watson. Right around plus 400 to win the AFC North. I think that's a good number. Plus 115, I looked at this morning to make the playoffs. I love that. Take that. I will have a ticket on the Cleveland Browns to make the playoffs at plus 115.
I'm going to sign up for that one.
I like that slip. Also,
what was the win total too? Was it 8 or 9?
I don't have the win total. I don't want to say the wrong number, but I don't have it. I didn't look it up before I hopped on. But I would guess it's around 9.5. Let's talk about, if we're talking about the AFC North, we have to talk about Joe Burrow, right? This is my thing with Joe Burrow. He pulls up with the calf injury. If you go look at the video, he's already wearing a sleeve on this calf. I don't know. Let me be clear. I don't have any inside information on Joe Burrow's calf and what he did or did not do. He was trying to keep that calf warm, that leg warm, that plant leg proper. He pulls up, and they have been very coy. Taylor has about when he's going to be back, how good he looks. Is he going to be 100% week one? He didn't play any preseason. We don't know. Coming into the year, that's something I want to keep an eye on. If that injury seems like it could be a lot more serious than we are being led to believe. And especially in week one here where they play the Cleveland Browns. I will be on a teaser on the Cleveland Browns. I'm going to tease the Cleveland Browns up to 8.5, and I'll probably pair them with the Steelers, move that up. The Commanders down to -1. I think Tampa Bay is going to be absolutely brutal. I think another play, if you really believe in the Chicago Bears, is to take the Bears in week 2 right now before we see week 1. I think that line is right around -1 or -2 in that game. I'll be down there in Tampa Bay for that. But, yeah, I think the Browns are a very interesting team. Let's talk about Amari Cooper. Go ahead.
And I was just going to say, before you get into Amari Cooper, it's a spooky division as well, right? Let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers won 9 games last year. Do you know how many passing touchdowns they had as a team?
I actually don't. 10?
This might be the best Mike Tomlin stat and all the Mike Tomlin stats you could pull out. They had 12 passing touchdowns as a team and won 9 football games. One more time. There are 17 games played. They had 12 passing touchdowns in a passing era in the NFL and won 9 ball games with a rookie quarterback and Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, no,
if this team gets slightly better this year, right? And you know where I'm at on Tomlin. I think you're in the same place. Like this guy, we want to talk about culture and noise and all that. None of it doesn't get in there. 12 passing touchdowns, 9 wins is probably the craziest stat I've ever heard in my life.
What did you say? What's the best coaching performance in the NFL of all time? Is having keeping AB under
keeping
wraps?
AB and Le'Veon. He had AB and Le'Veon Bell in the same locker room, and they're winning 12 ball games. You seen what's happening? Have you seen AB? Come on,
he
dog.
kept AB and Le'Veon Bell under wraps and had them playing top football.
Top football.
In Pittsburgh in the same locker room. AB and Le'Veon Bell.
With a half-dead Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger was dead the past 3 years of his dead.
Yeah, but back when Le'Veon and AB were running around, he was still there. But
either way, I mean, so when we talk about this, you got it. And everything we've been hearing about Pickett is he's been awesome in camp. They really trust him. He was an older guy coming in, right? So like some of the problems that they had last year, they'll work on that. They reinvested in their offensive line. there's no reason that this team can't make a leap. So I know a lot of people will look at the Bengals and be like, oh, that's easy, right? Like, no, this division is open. Any one of these 4 teams could win the division at the end of the year, and I would not be surprised. Like, there's no trash in this division for me, especially, I mean, the worst team had 7 wins last year. And that was the Browns, and that was dealing with everything they dealt with. Again, the Pittsburgh Steelers won 9 games while throwing 12 passing touchdowns and 14 interceptions.
In a tough ass AFC.
Tough AFC.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's crazy.
Shout out Lobo's fantasy football. Then this is where I pulled this Deshaun Watson number from 2018 to 2020. He finished as a top 5 fantasy quarterback every year that year. And during that time, when he had DeAndre Hopkins, he had 100. He averaged, this is per year, 157 targets, 111 receptions, just under 1,400 yards and 8 touchdowns a year. So when Deshaun Watson is locked in and back to full go, he finds his number one guy, and that number one guy is going to be Amari Cooper. He's trying to be he's trying to go for back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving years with Cleveland. That never happens there. So Amari Cooper is a guy that you also want to look to, because if Deshaun Watson is the guy that we think he is and is coming back and is – I don't even know if he needs to be the all-pro that he once was. If he's above replacement level top 15 guy, I believe the Cleveland Browns are very, very good. They added some defense. Jim Schwartz is now the defensive coordinator over there.
Schwartz.
And like Jim Schwartz or not, he can put together a little D. When he went to Detroit, they got a lot better on defense. He was the defensive coordinator in Philly. They were good there. So Jim Schwartz can put together a defense. He's now in Cleveland with Stefanski. They have Watson now, second full year. Let me ask you this, Nick. Where do you think mentally Watson is? Is it less pressure? Is it like, okay, I got that behind me now. Yep. I have the money. I'm the highest guaranteed contract in NFL history. Or would you lean that he's on that, man, I really got to come in here and show that I'm still that guy, and he's feeling that pressure? Or would you say he's a little more loose, like, yep, I got my money. That shit's behind me. Let's just go play football.
I think it's a mixture of both, right? I think he wants to reestablish himself back to where he was, right? Which again was one of the premier quarterbacks in the NFL, especially for a younger guy. But I think it's also like, okay, I'm settled down. I'm not dealing with all the noise. Because even go back to before the stuff that happened, as far as the massage shit, he wanted to get out of Houston. This all started when he requested a trade from the Houston Texans at the very beginning of the offseason, right? Before anything else happened, then the lawsuit came, and then that turned into a whole nother thing. So there was noise for a while there. He wasn't happy in Houston before they traded him. He had requested a trade before this all came out, right? So yeah, man, I think that there's a bit of pressure off, man. There's a bit of carefree that he's going to play with. He's settled into the situation. Again, he's not the story. No one's really paying attention to it. No one's really talking about it. There's 8 other QB storylines that have been covered more than the Deshaun Watson, I'll call it, return this year. Because last year, I mean, we sat out the first 4 was the first 4 or first 8 of the season, right? So I mean, that shit. Yeah, I think he's going to be relaxed but motivated because he wants to get back to where he is. Yeah, it's not like he's like, oh, I signed this deal, I'm good, I'm just going to chill. I think when you were playing at the level that he was playing at, remember, this guy's a competitor. We go back to college. He's used to competing for winning things, right? So I'm very, 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 very high on him, and I'd be shocked if he looked like he looked last year.
He was brutal last year.
Brutal. But I didn't expect him to be good. I think that was a tough situation to play in. You missed. Maybe it was 6 games that he missed. But I mean, you're coming in the middle of the year. Yeah, it was a tough situation, man.
Okay, before we get over to Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffs, go Buffs, we coming. Let's talk about where we're at.
What was your storyline?
My sleeper is the Browns as well. That's what I was getting into. Yeah, I like them to make the playoffs at plus 115. The right around plus 400 to win the division, I think, is very there. If Deshaun Watson shows up, that's the big question. If Deshaun Watson shows up and is in the top 15 quarterback, I think they are extremely competitive in that division. And I believe that we might not see 100% Joe Burrow till week 3, week 4 of the season. And that's
by that time, that division could be a mess.
And that's an issue. So we'll see how that shakes out. And we know that also Cincinnati is very delicate with their guys. If you remember last year, Jamar Chase was injured was 100% cleared, said he was healthy, full go. Cincinnati held him out for an extra game before they added him back into the mix. They're not going to mess around with Joe Burrow. So I could see him coming back week 3, week 4, and maybe Cleveland not come back, but be 100% week 3, week 4. And then Cleveland could be feeling good. I think just the prices are mispriced. I think plus 115 to make the playoffs is really interesting. That division is going to be a lot of fun.
I was going to say, where are you with Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I like
Pittsburgh. Is it hard? Is it? You just can't really, you can't really go against them.
Yeah, listen, last year I was very bullish on television about this is going to be the first year Mike Tomlin that isn't over 500.
It's not possible.
There was no, well, first of all, coming in, I knew everything about Mitch Trubisky from
yeah.
So people that didn't know, I was trying to explain to them what time it was.
We've been here before. Yeah.
I've seen this movie. What I don't care what they're telling you about him at camp and him coming out of this and doing this and in meeting here, meeting there. He's not that man. So I was very bullish on them being bad.
And Mike pulled the hook quick.
They came off Trubisky in week 3?
Yeah, Tomlin doesn't fuck around with that.
So
hey, listen, this ain't it.
It was
I don't care what y'all paying this man. This ain't it.
This is not the answer.
Yeah.
So he was very quick to get him out of there. So it's hard to say, man. But everything, every article, every tweet, every podcast I've heard, read about Kenny Pickett is he looks phenomenal.
Yeah, George Pickens too. A lot of George Pickens.
Pickens is that guy, of course.
Yeah,
but
Emma Ward, you got studs on defense. You got guy, not Ward. I'm sorry, Watt.
Yeah,
Watt.
TJ is still there. So
shout out Hines Ward. But yeah,
shout out
Watt.
Hines Ward.
Shout out Hines Ward.
Georgia Bulldog.
Dog blocker.
Shout out Hines Ward.
Shout out Hines Ward was cold.
Yeah. But let's close out this NFL segment with where are we at? Let's talk about. We got to talk about it. Justin Fields. What for you, Nick? His passing yardage is right below 3,000 total. He's right down there with Anthony Richardson, whose passing yard line in Las Vegas is 2,800 yards. I mean,
folks is going to struggle.
What do we think? And where are we at with Justin Fields? What makes it a successful year? What do you want to see? Let's put it on wax.
I just want to get to Sunday at noon. That's it. It's hard for me to sit here and be like, this is what I expect. This is what I think I'm going to see, especially statistically. I couldn't give you any type of indication of what it's going to look like statistically because you can't really take last year and be like, yeah, it's going to continue from that. I would highly doubt that he rushes for 1,200 yards again. And if he does, I think we're in a bad situation. Because I would like to see the team take a step forward offensively. And I think a lot of those yards last year is because, honestly, there was no one to throw to or the pocket was breaking down. So I don't really want him running for his life. It's tough to say, man. I want to see – but some of the things that we did see last year, we saw the Chicago Bears score points. Like, we could talk about all this other stuff. He didn't throw the ball well and his completion percentage, and he has more turnovers than anybody over the last 2 years. There were games last year where Chicago Bears were scoring 30 points. And I haven't seen that in a long time. So my expectation is for him to lead an offense that's able to put points on the board, man. My expectation for him is to be able to take some of these weapons and these improvements, right? Because I do believe in the talent they put around him, whether it's the upgrades to the offensive line, whether it's bringing in DJ Moore, whether it's the bond that he built with Cole Kmet in the second half of the year, in which Cole Kmet had 7 touchdowns. That's what I'm looking for. So statistically, I got nothing for you. Even win-wise, I don't really have too much for you. I just want to see progress, but I want to see real progress, right? Like last year, we wanted to see, okay, can this guy handle being a starting quarterback in the NFL? And I feel like we did see that. I want to see real progress, right? I want to see some of the stuff that I see from other teams when I watch on Sunday, right? I want to see an offense that can consistently put up points. I want to see a quarterback that's dynamic and that's a threat and that people are scared of. But statistically, I got nothing for you, man, because I think it's just all over the place because we haven't really seen him operate as a passer with competent weapons around him at all in the NFL.
Yeah, I just want to see command. Just command of the offense in general, where he thinks he should go with the ball, telling people what to do, that confidence in the pocket. I just want to see command and
getting rid of the ball quicker.
Yeah, well, that's just knowing where to go with it before,
yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's what I want to see from Justin Fields. Now, my leash is honestly, Nick, for me, Justin Fields can play all 16 this year and
can.
throw one touchdown.
Yep.
And I want him at the court. He's week 1 starter.
It's a full year leash.
Yes, this is a full year lease for me.
Yep.
Now, a lot of people don't agree with that. A lot of people, if he struggles and he can't throw the ball.
Shout out my man.
Shout out man. Hey,
my man is gonna win a Super Bowl. I already told you.
I'm gonna tell you. We're talking about what's his first name?
Tyler, I'm assuming.
Tyler Badgett.
Looks like a Tyler
Badgett. And we're gonna know his name shortly. I really believe that.
Yeah.
It might not be. Hopefully, it's not with Chicago, but
he's cold.
Tyson, he had command. When you saw him play in the preseason, he looked confident. He knew what he was doing. Absolutely. He had command. So that's going to be interesting. But
and shout out Poles for coming off a guy that you had. I mean, PJ Walker, we have seen him play in the NFL. Nathan Peterman, it's been terrible, but those guys have started football games in the National Football League. You decide to go with a second-round pick. That says a lot to me. I'm sorry, second-round pick. Undrafted D2 guy. That says a lot to me about Poles. That's like, yeah, PJ Walker, you started last year. Peterman, you started several times throughout the last few years. No way. We're going to go after this. This is the guy that we want. That says a lot to me about the control that Poles has within the organization, because you pretty much burned up a couple $1 million on PJ Walker.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what you did.
Yeah.
You threw it out the window.
Yeah.
So I'm with it, man. I'm all about eating mistakes, man, early.
Yeah.
That's like a big thing in betting too, man. Just eat it. Don't just eat it, bro.
Don't double down.
Chase it. Don't double down.
Just eat it.
Just eat it and come back another day and keep 100%. Rocking. If you start,
don't fall victim to the chase.
If you can get yourself to just try to get out of L's and accept the L's early, you'll set yourself up for a lot better. You're setting yourself up to be in a better position going forward. Now let's talk about Justin Fields and rushing the rock. Last year, 160 carries. Listen, man, that shit cannot happen anymore. I don't care if you go and get another running back. I don't care if whatever you have to do, he cannot have that many carries. I understand he's an unbelievable weapon. But let's talk about some other guys. Cam Newton, in his career, Nick, in his career, never went over 160 attempts like Justin Fields did last year. His highest attempts in a season is 139 in 2017. Let's talk about Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson has gone over the 160 attempt mark only once, and that was the year 2019 that he won MVP. 176 attempts for 1,200 yards. And if we're being honest, he wasn't getting hit like that, Lamar. Cam Newton's 130 carries around that number pretty frequently in his career was taking big shots. Lamar Jackson was breaking people off and getting out of bounds, shaking people and getting. He wasn't a big get down guy, but he was never getting hit square. If you could pull up a clip of Lamar Jackson getting cracked, you let me know, because I've yet to see one. Justin Fields is more Lamar Jackson than Cam Newton. I think he's that fast. I think he's that versatile. I think Justin Fields might be one of the fastest guys in the NFL.
Yeah, Cam was different. Cam was just more like, yes, he was fast, but he was also like 6'5", 250 pounds. Yeah, it was just like it was, but he wasn't like take off and run. That wasn't what he was looking to do all the time, for sure.
I guess what I'm getting at is last year, Justin Fields had 160 attempts. Cam Newton never had that. And it's a consensus that Cam Newton's career got shortened by the amount of hits he took rushing the football in the NFL. If we want Justin Fields as Bears fans to be the quarterback of the next 10, 12 years, he has to have more like 110 attempts, just over 100 attempts. And if we want to win and be impactful in the NFC, he needs to be throwing that thing down the field. So where am I at with Justin Fields? Final answer is that I just want to see improvement with him throwing the rock up the field. I'm very confident also that Matt Nagy calendar doesn't count.
Nope.
I don't want to hear about that calendar at all. This is his second year in the offense under Eberflus.
Loose.
So that's what it's about.
For sure.
Command, improvement, throwing the rock downfield.
Only one quarterback had more rushing attempts than Justin Fields last year. Who was it?
You said one quarterback did?
Yeah, I was shocked. I didn't surprised. I didn't realize.
Oh, Mariota.
Nope. Mariota rushing attempts. He was quit on the team in like week 8.
Oh, like week 13 though. But rushing attempts more than
Fields. There was one quarterback. He had way less yards. Jalen Hurts had 165 rushing attempts.
Yeah. He wasn't taking no shots.
Josh Allen had 124. That's a story for a whole nother day.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, we can talk about that forever, but that just shouldn't be happening at this point. But yeah.
But yeah, man, this is a lot more time for Justin Fields under Luke Getsy. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does under that offense here in year 2. But the leash for me is still very long. I think there's a lot of runway for Justin Fields to get better. But this is the issue, really quick. Last point I'll make. But this is the issue, Nick. You start to get media pressure when you don't fire the coach the year you get the guy, because then he plays him and that counts against him. People hold that year of him being in the NFL against him when Matt Nagy wasn't a good NFL head coach.
Yeah.
So some people hold that against him. I don't. We'll see how it shakes out. Big Nick,
my concerns with the Bears, yeah, I mean, obviously we can talk about Fields and all them all day. Probably my biggest concern that defense looked terrible in the preseason. If we're being honest, you can go back to Malik Willis was driving the field on the Bears defense.
It's a young unit.
Yeah, so I'd be more worried about that. I mean, I believe in Flus and some of those guys, but yeah, I think the Bears are going to be in some shootouts. That's why, from a record standpoint, I don't really expect too much. But like you said, man, can Fields get the ball out early? Some of that stuff we saw in the first half of the year. I mean, we can go back to that episode where you and I were out on Fields. We were there. We were almost there. He couldn't hit his receiver on a running back on a screen in the backfield, and we were like, "Oh man, this is bad, right?"
This is starting to get
half
ugly.
Of the year, he really flipped. Really, in the middle of the season, he had a run of some crazy games.
I will say this,
but yeah,
if it starts to get the in that situation where he is making the right reads, he's going through things, and he's missing wide open people. Because there was a time where Trubisky looked like he had shit under control. He just couldn't hit anybody. It's like, this dude is fucking missing everybody.
Yeah.
Like back shoulder, whatever, wide open guys getting overthrown. So that could get a little spooky. I think Justin's talented, man. I am a little biased. I'll admit that. But I do think he has it. I was looking at some old Ohio State tape of him throwing the ball upfield. If he knows where to go with it and he's confident where he has to go with it, he can get it there. So
I forget who it was. Someone said when the Bears drafted Fields, and like the difference between Fields and Mitch is that Justin Fields is an actual quarterback. Like, he's been a quarterback his whole life. He's a quarterback. Mitch Trubisky has just always been the best athlete wherever he was. So it's just like, yeah, give him the ball, have him play quarterback. But he was never an actual quarterback. You know, he never looked comfortable as a quarterback. Wasn't great at UNC. You know what I mean? Couldn't even, did he not win the job his sophomore year? He got beat out by another guy. Yeah. So like, it was just, he was never really a natural quarterback. It was more like, this guy's a crazy athlete, just give him the ball out in the middle of nowhere in Ohio. Whereas Justin Fields has always been a quarterback, right? So you kind of rely on that stuff. So you hope that when it does slow down, he goes back to those quarterback instincts. The shit's been fast the last couple of years. You're giving him no protection. There's no one to throw the ball to. You have a head coach that didn't believe in him his rookie year and didn't want to play him, would rather play Andy Dalton. So yeah, I mean, he's had a lot noise, quiet it down. So I'm happy with it, man.
Quick, where are you at with Dak Prescott, Dallas Cowboys? And then we'll get on to Deion.
This thing,
I think this is a fun conversation.
Free Dak. It's clear that. So here's the thing, man. If I'm Dak, I'm not worried about Trey Lance. Part of me doesn't have a problem with them getting Trey Lance. You can get him for a 4th round pick, and this is a guy who was a 3rd pick in the draft a couple of years ago. So there's obviously some talent there.
I want to talk about that, by the way.
But
I'm tired of hearing about that shit.
The 3rd pick in the draft?
No, just about where you were picked in the draft, period.
For sure. Either way, but it's just either way, what that means for me is that people had evaluated him high. Now, obviously, what we've seen in the NFL in his small sample size isn't that great. But the whole thing, like, should this worry Dak this year? There's no way Trey Lance is beating out Cooper Rush as the backup. We saw Cooper Rush play good football last year. So is there anybody I'm worried about if I'm Dak Prescott? It's Cooper Rush, who looks like the type of quarterback that Jerry Jones wants playing if we're being completely honest. Let's call it what it is. Dak has never been the guy that Jerry actually wanted back there, right? For whatever reason. I'm not saying it's because of that.
I wouldn't go that far. He pulled Romo, bro.
But Romo was done.
But he still pulled.
He was done.
He pulled.
A man couldn't hold the snap for an extra point in a playoff game. He's cooked.
You got to give him credit for that.
But Romo ever
the reason we know who Dak Prescott is because of
Romo literally never played. You want to talk about your boy Jordy Nelson never playing? Romo literally never played in the NFL after Dak took him over. It was done. Romo was cooked. He was finished. He retired and now he's in the booth making more money. But yeah, so I wouldn't worry about Trey Lance taking his seat right now. But it just seems like, man, there's a lot of noise. A lot of it's self-created. We talk about Jerry Jones always has the camera crew with him. He's always available for a soundbite. He undermines his head coach. He undermines his quarterback. It feels like every couple weeks he has to remind everybody that he's in charge, and he doesn't have a problem doing it. I don't believe in this team, man. I don't understand where all the hype is coming from. I guess I do because it's the Cowboys, but to me, like, we've seen Dak come up short when it matters. Right? He's going to put up good regular season numbers. The team's going to put up good regular season numbers. They'll probably score some points. The defense will look good. Trayvon Diggs will have some pick sixes, right? That'll all be there. But when it matters, they're going to fall apart, man. I don't – there's something missing there, and I don't know if I like Dak, man. I want him to do well. He's a black quarterback. You know it hurts me to say it, but, like, I don't think he's that guy.
I love the Cowboys this year. I love them coming in.
I know you do. Is that your NFC team?
These are the spots that as a bettor, you need to get ahead of the narrative and ahead of the people. I think first of all, let's talk about the Cowboys have won 12 games back-to-back years. Mike McCarthy calling plays, like it or not, like Mike McCarthy or not, that is probably his strong suit. His strong suit is definitely not managing the game.
That's not game management. So he's got to do something well.
That's for sure. But offensively, that is what he does. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. We've seen it be successful in Green Bay. We've seen it be successful at times in Dallas before. My man's Kellen, what's his name? Kellen Moore was there calling the plays. So we've seen that be successful for Dallas and Mike McCarthy and Dak. Dak has just got to stop turning it over at the clip. And I also expect him to do that coming in. I expect Dak to have a monster year, and I expect Dallas to be very, very good, especially in the regular season. Dak coming into it, looking for a new contract. All he's been hearing about is how bad he played last year. I am very confident Dak and the Cowboys have a big year. I love them to win the NFC East. I'll take them over the Giants and the Eagles. I like Dallas a lot coming into the year. I think Dak responds and bounces back, and they win 12, 13 games again and are competitive in the playoffs. If he could get some injury luck, the Dallas Cowboys out of San Francisco, out of other NFC teams that are competitive, the NFC East is the NFC in general is kind of wide open. If he can get some injury luck from Philly, who was so healthy last year, San Francisco, if he can get some injury luck there, they have a really good chance of winning the entire NFC, in my opinion. Mike McCarthy's tough to swallow in the playoffs. I will give you that.
That's strong for me.
When it's big decision time in the playoffs and you're looking at the guy that's making the decisions and pulling the trigger, and it's Mike McCarthy, that is tough to swallow. But I do like the Dallas Cowboys this year to have a big regular season and to carry that through the playoffs and make some noise. I think Dak shows up major.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Dak goes down last year. They go 4-1 under Cooper Rush. Wins against the Vikings.
Just the roster in general. Well, look, if you look at the roster, they needed a corner. They go get Stephon Gilmore. He's one of the best corners we've had in the NFL the past 5 to 7 years. Then they add Brandon Cooks. CeeDee Lamb is still that guy. The offensive line, Zach Martin is paid.
Has Brandon Cooks played for every team in the NFL?
Yeah, he's good though.
I know he's good, but he's another guy that's literally on a new team every year, puts up numbers, and then it's like, yeah, we gotta. It's like no one ever wants to pay him.
Dude, he was in Houston. He's like, get me out of here, bro. I don't want to hear this.
Yeah, he was in New Orleans. He was in LA. He's been in a few places.
Tony Pollard is in his window where he's extremely good. He hasn't taken a pounding yet. He's coming off the broken leg, but the non-ligament, non-soft tissue injuries typically are easy to bounce back from. See Paul George in the NBA. Leg absolutely just shattered, but it wasn't a soft tissue thing. It wasn't a ligament thing. He's back playing top tier.
Call him by his name, MVP.
MVP Paul George. What, MVP season?
MVP season.
Paul George. So Tony Pollard, I'm not worrying about coming back and being right at the top of his game like we saw last year. I'm high on the Dallas Cowboys. I'm looking forward to it. And the hate and the vitriol that they get out of people is something that you can capitalize in the betting market.
You have become, I will say this is one thing I've noticed from you as the gambling has really, really, really picked up. You have become so analytical that your eyes, I don't know if you're watching.
I'm not trusting my eyes as much.
You're not trusting your eyes in the moments, man. Like, yeah, we can pull out numbers all day. But
well, Nick, have they won 12? Have they won 12 games back-to-back years?
They have won 12 games.
Is their roster better than it was last year?
Have they fallen apart in the playoffs back-to-back years?
Is their roster better than it was last year?
Does their roster improve every year? Do they always have some splash?
Okay, so the answer is yes, you're saying?
Yeah.
Are the Giants going to take a step forward or a step back?
Unclear. Unclear.
Okay.
If you were to ask me the one team from last year that had success that I'm the most uncertain about in the NFL this year, it is the New York Football Giants, without a doubt. So I can't tell you anything. They could go 1-16 or they can go 12-5. I really don't know. What I do know is the Dallas Cowboys fall apart in the playoffs, man. Hopefully they don't have to play against 49ers.
It's such like a fallacy. I guess fallacy is not the right word because it is true they have fallen apart.
They haven't been to an NFC championship game in 30 years.
New year, new season. I expect different.
Last conference championship game for the Dallas Cowboys is 1995, and this is a team that every single year makes a splash. Whether it's bringing in Keyshawn, whether it's hiring Bill Parcells out of retirement, whether it's getting whatever it is, they always have some sort of splash, right? That makes you think, hey, this is going to be it. But for 30, and I'm not trying to do like the Stephen A. Smith like performative thing about the Cowboys.
That's what I mean.
Factual. For 30 years, this team hasn't gotten it done. At some point, it's organizational. There's something going on there. The fish rots from the head. There's something going on there that doesn't allow for playoff success. I mean, you look at the teams they beat in the play. Last year, they beat the Bucs, who were fucking dead.
And then lost to a sensational defense to San Francisco.
The year before, they lost to the Niners.
One of the best Ds in the NFL.
Sure, with Brock Purdy at quarterback.
I mean, come on, the Niners have been a machine.
Yeah, they have. I'm just telling you though. But so have the Cowboys that led the league in offense last year. Scored more points than anybody.
We'll see. Stay tuned on the Dallas Cowboys. All right, let's move over to Deion Sanders and the college.
Put up 12 points against the Niners last year.
Yeah, it's unacceptable. I will say that. Let's talk about college football. For as much for two guys that are not interested in, if there's one thing I'm not interested in, it's college football. It's really rough. Like it's actually getting worse and worse as the years go by as well. Really especially now with all the realignment. I don't even know who plays where. We already know about the quality. It's just something. If you watched the Clemson,
there's not enough good quarterbacks for every NFL team, so you can't expect there to be a bunch of good ones in college.
It's just this is what you know what it is, Nick. I think at the very bare bones of it, I like to watch the top tier of what I'm looking at. I don't like to watch the French league when I'm watching soccer. I like to watch the Premier League. I like to watch Real Madrid, Barcelona, in a couple of squads out of La Liga.
So you're not signing up for the MLS pass. Messi's not moving you to get your MLS pass.
No, I'm never signing up for that. I like to watch AC Milan, Inter Milan. I like to watch the NFL. I like to watch the NBA. Even FIBA, I'm kind of like,
whatever.
I'd rather watch I would have watched it if we weren't recording right now. I would have watched USA Italy. But if the quarterfinal of the U.S. Open is on, I'm not watching FIBA, bro. It's not happening. I like to watch the top.
More of your favorite sport.
And I love basketball way more than I love tennis.
Yep.
But I'm locking into the top competition that's going on, and that's the U.S. Open right now at the moment. And then NFL starts here on Thursday. So it's just about watching the top quality. If you watched Clemson Duke last night, I had it on the second screen. I watched the U.S. Open all night.
Yeah, me too. I
had Clemson Duke on the second screen. I saw Clemson in the red zone 4 or 5 times, and every time I looked up, Duke had the ball, and Clemson had no more points than they did last time I glanced at the television. So, but I say all that to say this: I will be watching the Colorado Buffs.
You're locked in. I
will be watching Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffs. You see if you're watching on the video, you see Deion over my that's my right shoulder, left shoulder on the screen. But prime Deion Sanders is my guy. There is absolutely no question about that. I've always been a massive Deion guy. He goes to Texas. He goes to Colorado from Jackson State and HBCU, brings all his luggage, as he calls it, his players with him, tells everybody that he's going to be able to keep up with people, talks shit and backs it up, gets a massive W. I got a couple clips I'm going to show you here, Nick the Quick. Bo, how do you feel about right now? First of all, how important was that win?
Huge.
How do you feel about the narrative now and just the overall situation right now coming out of Boulder, Colorado?
Yeah, I mean, he turned over, I said, 90% of the roster. There's never been as much turnover on Division I roster as what Deion did when he got in there. It was 90% of the roster. You know, on a college football, that's like 110 kids. So turned over the roster completely, brought some of his guys with him, mainly Travis Hunter and Shador, who both balled out on Saturday. Goes to Fort Worth to play against a team that was in the national championship last year, right? Really good program in TCU, a game in which they were, 21-point dogs? I think they were plus 800 at one point or before the game, something like that, or something ridiculous.
And they're plus 800.
Yeah, 21
money line on the Colorado Buffs was plus 800.
Plus 800, right? So 21-point dogs, a game that no one gave them a chance in, and no one really. I'm not going to say that no one would say anything if they got killed because it's Deion and people are kind of waiting to dance on the grave.
Oh my God!
But
they definitely
what? A game that no one expected them to win and go in there and first off put up an awesome game. Awesome game. It's a lot of back and forth, a lot of fireworks. But go in there and win, man. A huge road win to kind of kick off this thing, right? Now you got your guys believing, right? All that shit you've been pumping into them all summer, all that shit you've been feeding them through the media, you got guys believing. When guys go in there and they do what you tell them to and they get a win, you know what's a lot easier? Today when you have practice, right? Hey, remember what I told y'all? I told y'all we're not coming, we're here, right? So now let's lock in. Let's go do this again. We got conference play starting in a few weeks. And before you know it, you could turn this thing around. But I think as far as just like making a statement, you know, he really needed that win. I know it's about the kids. I get it. It's about the kids, it's about the university, about the program, all that. Deion needed that win. So now he can talk his shit. He can say, hey, I can take a team in my first game there and go and beat a team who was playing for a national championship last year. So I thought it was absolutely huge. I love it. You know, I did have my issues with the way he left Jackson State, but that's water under the bridge at this point. And obviously it looks like he made the right decision, man. So I'm really excited to see what he does with that program.
What about, hold on, let's talk about how he left. We know it wasn't under the best circumstances. He kind of just packed up and did, but he did bring all his players. It wasn't like he left his whole roster over there and got a whole bunch of new guys. He brought his son. He brought all the people that he recruited, he brought with him.
Yeah. So I was actually in Jackson few months ago, and I was talking to this dude about it, and he was like, "Look, man," he goes, "The problem with how Deion left is this is the South, right? This is the Bible Belt." He goes, "You can't come down here talking about God sent me, right? Because people down here take that shit." It is the way he goes. He goes, "People down here take that shit seriously." Right? Yeah. Like it's not up north where you just throw it around like whatever. He goes, if you come to Jackson, Mississippi in the South and say God sent you, people believe that shit, right? Like they hold on to that. You know what I'm saying? So I think that they say when he left, it was kind of like, oh wow, I thought you were sent here by the Lord. Because again, they really do believe it. So I think that I did have some issues with that. And we talked about that, right? But either way, man, look.
Is that Deion's fault though if he believed that God sent him over there?
I think that the whole point was if God sent you, you're not leaving. You understand what I'm saying? Until God tells you got to go to
the core of it is like you were capping. You lied to us.
Sure. I think that's what it was. And you lied to us invoking the Lord's name in that part. Again, that if you haven't been to the South, it's different as far as how they view shit like that. Yeah. So I get that. And whatever. But I have no problem with him leaving and trying to better his opportunity as a head coach. And man, it's huge. It's huge. That's a statement win.
The biggest thing you said was, if I tell you something and how this is what we need to do to win, and then we go down and get a big win, and everything you said is coming to fruition. The things you said today, like you just laid out, Nick, mean a lot more. It's a little heavier, no doubt. And let's talk about some of these guys. Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, dogs and leaders.
Number 3 for the running back,
Edwards.
Oh my God.
Player. Dogs and leaders. Here's Deion talking about there's no captains on the Colorado Buffaloes.
I don't have no captains. I don't believe in no captains. I believe in leaders and dogs. Every dog ain't a leader and every leader ain't a dog. But he's both.
Listen, he's talking about Travis Hunter.
Yeah. Travis
Hunter had the D on his jersey for dog. Shedeur Sanders has the L on his jersey for leaders. How do you feel about that statement? Because there's a lot to that. And we could give some examples. Every dog ain't a leader, and every leader ain't a dog. We were talking about Vontaze Burfict in the group chat the other day.
Oh, you should have that picture queued
up. He's a dog. He's not a leader. Vontaze Burfict, dog, not a leader. I think that's interesting. I think it gives another wrinkle to him. It's just about not being like everyone else. Every team does captain. We're doing dogs and leaders. Yeah. What do you think about that statement and him laying it out that way?
It's Deion's version of coach speak. Look, it's coach speak. It's still coach speak. Like I love Deion, and I want to make it seem like he's reinventing the wheel here with that type of thing, and come with something revolutionary. It's just coach speak. I'm sure there are other coaches that have called their captain something else. That's coach speak. Come on, man. Don't. Come on, man.
You don't like? You're not buying?
I like it. It's cool. I think it's great. Why not change it up, man? If that's what he feels, right? Like we don't have captains, we have leaders and dogs, then absolutely call him that. No one's stopping you. But I'm not going to sit up here and be like, oh my God, Deion calls them leaders and dogs. You know what I mean? Like, but I like it. I think it's cool. Look, man, so much of it's about culture, right? Like everywhere. You work in jobs, you know what it is. Culture matters, man. And you got to be able to establish your culture as a leader if you want to get the things done that you want to get. And if you believe in your leadership style, if you believe where you're trying to take these guys, then it's on you to establish your culture. And if that's part of his culture, then that's it. Right? If that makes him feel comfortable, if that makes the guys feel comfortable, if that makes the guys feel like there's something, like they're a part of something, right? And again, culture, like he's overall just putting his culture in there, then fine, man. And again, they won, so I don't really care. All that shit is great if you win. If you win, then keep it rolling, right? Like you win, keep it rolling, man. So I got no problem with it at all. I'm not going to, again, sit up here and be like, this is earth-shattering that he calls guys leaders and dogs, but it's cool. And it's part of his culture, man, and that's Deion. And he's doing a good job of instilling his culture in Boulder, Colorado, with exactly what he said he was going to do. And it culminates with a big win on Saturday.
And if we're talking about dogs, this guy, Travis Hunter, is the real deal. He was a 5-star guy that went to Jackson State. First of all, that's unfucking heard of.
Unheard of.
He went to play for Deion Sanders.
Could have went anywhere.
Deion Sanders goes to Colorado. He comes with. He plays... I think he played 160 snaps.
2 ways.
at corner and wide receiver. Didn't look tired. Should have had 2 touchdowns.
Made a massive pick.
Ended up having 11 catches, had a pick in the red zone. He was just an impact player across the board.
Yep.
Then his son at quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, throws for 510 yards, a school record, in the first performance he has with the club. It's just absolutely sensational. Here's Deion with Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders after the game.
Coach Prime, it doesn't get much better than this. You said all along, we come in, this team is here, and wow, did you impress? How proud are you?
Thank you, Jesus. I'm so thankful right now. My son, man. My pop right here. My son, my other son. Yeah. Bro, man, I'm loving these kids. Rick George for giving me this opportunity, man. This is a blessing. Everybody, Buff Nation, who supported us, and all the hood that had my back, I thank y'all. God, this is good. Woo!
What can you tell me about your defense and the way they came up huge with that stop to get this win?
They surrendered some big plays throughout the game, and all we kept teaching was just we need one stop. But what about the offense? How did they respond? How did these guys respond? I don't know how many snaps he played, but we're going to put a hot tub on the plane for him to make sure he's straight.
Hey, we're excited because we are heading to visit your home next week, Folsom Field. What is your message to the fans of what we can expect from Colorado?
We told you we're coming. We told you we're coming. You thought we was joking. And guess what? We keep receipts. God bless you, America. Ooh, God is good.
Congratulations.
Thoughts?
Hey, love it. Yeah, absolutely. Love it. Great.
You hating on Deion, I think, a little bit.
I actually love it, bro. I was literally about to say, what was that statistic? They're 0-27 against ranked opponents on the road since 2002. Was that the number that they flashed in the beginning? That's incredible, man. I'm not hating on Deion at all. What do you want me to say? I've been listening to Deion talk since 1989.
I'll say this. I'll say this, and I'll keep it a beam. This is something I haven't heard yet. I think that was the most telling interview I saw of Deion throughout the weekend. He had some time to think before he jumped on Pat McAfee and starts telling stories about this, that, and the third. That interview after the game, for me, seemed like Deion was a little relieved. Like, maybe we actually can do this. And believe it or not, Deion, just like anyone else, there was times he was sitting by himself like, man, I hope this shit works out because this shit is, I'm going to catch a lot of backlash if it doesn't. So, of course, anytime he's in front of his players and in front of the media, it's big bravado. It's big talk. We come in dogs and leaders. But I can guarantee you there was times where he was sitting by himself or sitting with his close homies and was like.
Or he's with his wife in bed talking like yeah, maybe
man,
I don't know.
I don't like, maybe I bit off too much. Because the release there when he's talking to Jenny Taft about just how good it is. Thank you for the opportunity. The first thing he talked about when they put a mic in his face is he was thankful. He thanked the people that gave him the opportunity at Colorado. He thanked the people that backed him up because it's been a rough stretch getting to where he's at and being on that stage to perform. Deion, that was the most raw, pure Deion clip. He thanked his son for believing in the program coming. He thanked his other son, Travis Hunter, who's not his son, for believing in him, for coming with him to Jackson State and then coming with him to Colorado. He shouted out everyone that believed in him and believed that he can get it done. And that was the realest clip and the realest audio I saw from Deion Sanders this weekend.
Yeah, without a doubt. For some reason, somehow I became a Deion hater throughout the midst of all this, but yeah, absolutely. Man.
Similarly to how you think I'm a Mahomes hater.
No, but there's actually substantial evidence that you are a Mahomes hater. That's great. We can go back through the film.
I didn't know that about you.
We need to get an intern so I go back through the film all the time. Sean shaded Patrick Mahomes.
I didn't know it was coach.
Sean doesn't like him, man.
For
some reason, Sean doesn't like him, man. That should be
now Deion is coach speak. Mike Tomlin is the enforcer and the leader. Deion Sanders is coach speak.
If he took mushrooms and locked himself in a sauna for a week, maybe you'd like him a little bit more.
That's crazy, man.
No, but awesome, man. That's huge. Man. Like I said, I will watch Colorado football.
I'm gonna tell you this. Somebody DM me the last time you heard Nick say coach speak about anybody. Deion Sanders says something now. It's coach speak. That's crazy.
Coach speak.
All right. let's get out of here. We got a couple more things to go through. Oh, by the way, Colorado Buffs next week at home against the Nebraska Cornhuskers, -3 right now. They opened as the underdog, and it moved like 4 points.
It's like the 90s Bowl, man. Like the teams of our childhood. Colorado, Rashawn Salam, Tommy Frazier.
Yes,
Eric Crouch.
Also, if you are of well means and you have money in your pocket and you're interested in going to see college football, I would love to go see. First of all, if you've never been to Colorado and Folsom Stadium, the team has been shit for a long time. But that stadium and Boulder is awesome. I would go check that out. Nick's not a big fan of Denver, but Boulder's a different vibe. So go check.
Overrated city I've ever been to in my life. Austin, Texas might be second.
Austin, Texas is overrated for sure.
Criminally overrated.
Yes, no question. No doubt about it.
I'm gonna go ahead and say this: like, y'all can have Texas. If I never set foot in the Lone Star State ever again in my life, I haven't been to Dallas, haven't been to Houston, have no interest.
Houston is.
I heard Houston is solid, but I don't need it, man. It's okay.
Younger Nick would have really liked Houston.
Probably.
Maybe not now. Houston might have passed you.
I think the things I would want to do in Houston, I'm probably maybe.
Yeah,
there's a few shoulder rubs.
Yeah, so Houston's not bad, but yes, I agree. Before we get out of here, we do want to. You know what? I'm going to skip that. We don't need to talk about Rich Paul and what he said and about LeBron. We're at an hour 15. Let's get out of here on the last couple things we wanted to talk about. What are we doing in segment number 3? That's what we're calling it. We're going to bring back Cornball of the Week. We're going to bring in What Are We Doing? We're going to bring in a couple other things for segment 3. But Big Nick the Quick, when you look at the sporting world and society in general, what do you want to talk about? What are we doing? What's bothering you?
Yeah, so you and I both talked about, I think we spent the weekend watching some U.S. Open whenever we got the chance, right? And I think one thing that stuck out to me, I texted you yesterday, I was watching the Medvedev match, and I'm like, hey, man, what are we doing with this Russian athlete thing and pretending like Russia's not a country? So if you don't know, on the ticker where they show the scores during the tennis match, they always put the player's name and then their country and sometimes a flag. With the Russian players, right, namely Medvedev and Kasatkina, two of the best Russian players in the world on the men's and women's side, both advanced.
Rublev, Medvedev,
Sabalenka,
Kasatkina, right?
No, Sabalenka's she's from somewhere else. She's not.
Okay.
She's not Russian.
Yeah.
But anyways, there's several of them, right? When you look at their names on the ticker, we just don't acknowledge that they're from Russia. Since the invasion of Ukraine. I get everybody has their opinion on that. It's a horrible thing. But what are we doing just not putting anything there and acting like they are not from Russia? I don't understand it. I don't get what we're trying to accomplish. I don't understand how this furthers the war effort. I don't understand how this hurts Russia at all, other than just looking stupid and kind of petty, especially now, like a year and a half later, right? This has nothing to do with tennis. It has nothing to do with track when I watch track. It has nothing to do with any of these other sports where you've just decided to act like the World Cup, whatever it might be. We decide to act like Russia just doesn't exist. We're not going to allow you to
marketing though. This is why, you know what I'm saying? You know how when you see like people blur out the Nike sign.
Yeah. Is it marketing for Russia?
When Jordan blocked out the, what I'm saying, the Adidas,
that's because he was getting paid a lot of money from Nike. Just pretending like these people don't exist or the country that they're from. It just looks stupid to me. Honestly, like you're going really out of your way to do that. And for me, I just don't understand where its place is in sports or anything like that. It's not like this is Putin's tennis team. You know what I mean? It's not Putin's soccer team.
Yeah.
Might be.
It's part of the what about just part of the sanctions?
That we're not going to show our US. We're not going to show our US on Sunday night at fucking ESPN.
It's the US Open. We don't.
They weren't doing it at Wimbledon.
They didn't do that at Wimbledon. Yeah, they don't do it anywhere.
They weren't doing it at the French Open. It's stupid to me. It's stupid. I don't understand what you're trying to accomplish or what we're doing. It's one of those things that like it doesn't make sense. It's not a real thing.
You know what it's like? It's like vacating people's wins.
Yeah, it's fucking dumb. I was there and it happened.
I know. Yeah, I was there. It happened. Rublev is from Russia.
Medvedev was born in Russia. I know that.
That's yes. Like,
I'm aware. You know what I mean? I regardless of how hard you try. if you blank it out, it's not like I'm like, oh, where is he from?
Reggie Bush won the Heisman.
Reggie Bush won the Heisman.
That's what happened.
You can't. It's just why do we do these? It is what it is. And no one in the sporting world is going to be like, I can't believe they're showing Russia on the screen. Like, that's where he's from. Let him show his. It's like they can't even represent their country. It's kind of ridiculous for me.
What about if, just last point on this? What if it's just out of respect for like the people of Ukraine in that region?
No, that you don't show a Russian flag for a Russian athlete. I mean, listen, man. If we want to start doing, listen, no, it's stupid. We don't even need to go there. There's probably plenty of countries that don't want to show U.S. when they're competing in their countries because some of the things that we have done. It's just ridiculous. It's hypocritical. It's
if you start to
it's
go
very virtuous, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, if you start to really get into
you really want to get into it. Hey,
no flags
Germany, y'all motherfuckers shouldn't be able to show up at all.
So there'd be no flags on the board.
No German flag. Hey, center, no flags for you. Let's go back to what things like. It's just like we can go on forever.
Right.
It's stupid to me. It doesn't accomplish anything. It's dumb, and it's bringing that stuff into sport, which I don't need.
What are we doing calling college football week 1, week 0? Listen, this is partly why college sports, I just don't understand it doesn't make sense. Nothing about college football makes any sense to me. And the more we go on, the more I just can't deal with it.
You said it before. It's all pageantry.
It's just pageantry. You take tailgating away from college football, it's 0. Band, take the band and the tailgate away. I would never go. Why would I ever? You
think this has anything to do with the fact that, we went to a Power 5 school and all that, but football was just kind of for tailgating. It's like no one really cared on an ASU campus about the team as much. Like we didn't go to Georgia, we didn't go to Alabama, we didn't go to Ohio State. This wasn't in our blood.
I think part of it too is just my deep hatred for the NCAA and how that whole thing just works.
You feel dirty watching it.
Still works. It's very dirty.
I feel very dirty business. I've always felt dirty watching the NCAA.
But let's be serious here. I don't care when you start, but if you start and there's 50 schools playing, it's fucking week 1. It's week 1 of the college football season. Week 0. What does that even mean? What do you mean week 0? No, it's the first week of college football. If you don't play that week, that's fine. You're starting your season on week 2. Week 0. Who's coming up with this stuff is what I don't understand. Yeah. So that's what are we doing?
Some marketing department
week
somewhere.
0. Yeah, it's a marketing. It's a preseason. I don't know what it is, but no, man, it's week 1 of the football year. Your team didn't start that week. Your team started week 2. It's not week 1.
Week 0.
Week 0. Come on, man.
All locked in for week 0.
What are we talking about?
So technically, that's ridiculous. I didn't even know they called it that, but it makes sense when you think about college shit because
it's a very college thing
in the world
to do.
Yeah.
When you guys start, week 0 is next.
Week 0. Yeah, week 0 we got Colorado.
Yeah. What?
I want to go back to that week 0 victory that we had.
Oh, do you go to week 10 and then the other team goes to week
week 9 for us? It's week 10 for you. We didn't play on 0.
So you only played 9 weeks, but you played 10 games?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of shit. Yeah, it's a lot of shit like that. It's a lot of corny shit. It's a lot of unnecessary buildup around the game outside of just the game. And then you get to the game. Oftentimes these games are terrible. Let's just keep it real.
No, then it's like it's a prep game. I think it's insane that teams pay other teams to come show up and play. Like the fact that the NCAA has always been student athletes first, et cetera, et cetera. But then there's this complete subculture of hey, if you come play us, we'll give you $5 million.
Yeah, if you come lose by 70 points, we'll give you $5 million.
The whole thing is just a sham. It's always been a sham.
Well, then these schools have no choice but to do that because it's we'll go get creamed by Alabama for $5 million because that goes a long fucking way for us.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So it's the whole thing. Everything about it is just backwards to me.
Let me ask you this on that real quick. like because you kind of have to do it, right? But like as a coach, you almost feel like dirty, like yo, it's like lambs to the slaughter.
I'm setting my boys up to get
guys
murdered
against a bunch of kids that you cannot compete against.
Well, you want to
maybe you get an Appalachian State versus Michigan every once in a while or something like that, but for the most part, you guys are gonna get fucking destroyed to start. After all this good momentum we've been building all summer, week 0, you're gonna go and get fucking destroyed.
Yeah, but you want to talk about coach speak. This is an opportunity to play the best in the world. Type shit. Good. That's
guys in the locker room like, yeah,
yeah. That is the ultimate. That's the ultimate coach speak opportunity. Do you know how many kids would dream to get an opportunity to go into Tuscaloosa and play the defending national champions?
Fuck.
You know how many teams would want to go into Athens and play Georgia? If you think you're an NFL guy, well, these are NFL guys. You're about to play them. Let's see what you're made of. That's a perfect coach speak opportunity.
Yeah.
Through and through. So
that's
in
their weight room is our entire football budget. But yeah, an opportunity. Like, that's
that's the perfect coach speak opportunity.
For sure.
All right, that's gonna do it for our first episode back on No Catch Up, week 1, Thursday. Actually, before we get out of here, what do you think about the game on Thursday? Well, give me a quick 2 minutes. Lions coming off one of their best years in the last 20.
Much hype. Jared Goff second half of the year.
15 touchdowns, no interceptions, I believe. It's either 17 touchdowns or 15 touchdowns.
It was 15 in
the last 8 games to none.
And they were 6-2, right?
Coming down the stretch, they were sensational.
Yep.
Green Bay needs to get a win to get in the playoffs. Lions hold them up. But
wait. Let's not gloss over that one. Wait, what happened again? Green Bay need a win to get in the playoffs and they scored 12 points.
Yeah, they couldn't get it
quarterback
done.
of all time.
Rodgers was ready to. He probably threw that game just to end that.
I think in both games against Green Bay combined, they only scored 30 points. I mean, against the Lions combined, the Lions had historic. Like you and I could have scored a touchdown against the Lions last year. But yeah, we won't talk about that.
Going in to week 1, the Chiefs at home opening the year. We know the banners.
Yeah.
6.5.
It's always tough to play at Arrowhead. The lights will be very bright for the Detroit Lions. It was cool after Hard Knocks last year. You fly under the radar. You put together a great second half of the year. But you are going into Arrowhead against the defending Super Bowl champions. I understand the Chris Jones holdout is massive, but you're still going up against Patrick Mahomes in one of the toughest environments to play in the NFL. I like the Chiefs in this game, but this one for me is fly away. I'm not touching anything on it. What is the line?
6.5. 6.5. I'll leave it at this. Since 2005, favorites of 6 or more points in NFL week 1, 39, 51, and 2. That's 43% against the spread. The Chiefs are minus 6.5. We'll see
history says to take the Lions, but yeah.
The Chiefs are a different animal opening the season at home.
Week 1 NFL betting is fucking a carnival.
It's nasty.
It's a carnival.
It's nasty.
Just you don't know anything. A lot of
stuff can happen.
It's hard to go off what you saw last year with the NFL and try to apply it to this year because there's so much turnover, so coaching turnover. It's just craziness. So yeah, week 1's fun.
A lot of stuff can happen. For Big Nick the Quick, I am your host, Sean Little. Make sure you subscribe everywhere. iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. Go check out that Cubs vlog, man. We just did that one a couple weeks ago at Wrigley in the bleachers. Me and Big Nick the Quick had a lot of fun. I'm actually headed down to Tampa Bay for Bears Bucks in week 2. I'm going to vlog that as well. Tap in, subscribe, tell a homie to tell a friend. For Big Nick the Quick, I'm your host, Sean Little. No Catch Up Sports Talk via Chicago. We'll see y'all.